in the Americas by Barbara Pfeiffer. A Whole New World. In the 1300s, people in Europe read Marco Polo's book about India and China. He was from Venice, Italy, and had gone to China with relatives when he was a teenager. He stayed there for many years. His stories made people eager to trade with these distant countries. Species were very valuable because they help preserve food and make it taste better. By the late 1400s, people in Europe knew the world was round. They hoped that by sailing westward on the oceans, India and China could be reached easily. First, though, an explorer had to find a way. The explorer would travel to unknown places and draw maps so others could follow the same routes. No one knew that the Americas were between Europe and China. Portugal's explorations. Africa was one of the first places that European explorers visited. Starting in the early 1400s, explorers from Portugal began to sail down Africa's west coast. Besides gathering information, explorers started colonies in Africa and on islands. Colonies sent raw materials to their mother countries and bought products from them. Portugal's first colony included the island of Madeira, which is off the West African coast. Each explorer used information from the previous journey, and each traveled farther than the last. Ships could stop on the colonies for supplies and repairs. By 1498, Vasco da Gama had sailed all the way down Africa to India. 13 years later, explorers from Portugal reached the Spice Island. This remained one of Portugal's colonies until the Dutch took control of them in the 1600s. Columbus explores China. While Portuguese explorers were thinking about sailing east to India and China, Christopher Columbus believed he could reach India sooner by sailing west. He was Italian, but he went to Spain's rulers to ask them for money. Columbus sailed 3 small ships across the Atlantic Ocean. Columbus and his crew left the Canary Islands and sailed for 37 days. When they found land on October 12, 1492, Columbus was sure it was near China, but it was really San Salvador in the Bahamas. His ships went on to Cuba, which Columbus thought was China. Columbus made 3 later trips back to this area, stopping on many islands and on the north coast of South America. He sailed around the Caribbean Sea and started colonies. Cabot's explorations. John Cabot read Columbus' story of his trip to China. He believed Columbus had gone too far south. Cabot got King Henry VII of England to send him across the Atlantic Ocean in 1497. With only one ship, Cabot sailed to Newfoundland, a large island that is now part of Canada. Cabot did not find species or gold, but he found huge forests that were filled with tall trees that could make good masts for ships. The next day, King Henry VII sent Cabot back with a fleet of 5 ships and soldiers to explore on land. One ship had to turn back at Ireland. The other 4 ships disappeared and were never heard from again. Early Spanish colonies. As soon as Spain claimed land in the New World, it tried to start a colony. Columbus left men on the island of Hispaniola on his first trip in 1492. The men, however, stole from and fought the Taino Indians. By the time Columbus returned the next year, his men had all been killed. Portugal did not start colonies in the New World as quickly and gave more attention to building colonies in Indonesia. The colonists used the people living there as slaves. They demanded that the people living there give them gold and silver to send back home. Some of the metals were sent to the kings and queens in Europe. Soon ships carrying the treasure began traveling across the Atlantic Ocean. Explorers also brought diseases that killed many of the Taino Indians. Pirates and pirateers. The ships carrying treasure from New World back to Europe became targets for robbers. There were two types of robbers, privateers and pirates. Pirateers were citizens hired by a king or queen to steal cargo from ships of other countries. These thefts by privateers were considered to be acts of war. Pirates were outlaws or thieves who stole on their own. Cabrillo explores California. Juan Rodriguez Cabrillo began his career by helping the Spanish military explore parts of the New World. He settled in Guatemala and built ships for transporting goods. The governor of Guatemala asked Cabrillo to lead an expedition to present-day California for Spain. In 1542, Cabrillo left with 3 ships and a few hundred men. They sailed for 3 months before discovering what is now the San Diego Bay. They continued north but had to turn back because of bad weather. During the expedition, Cabrillo died after breaking his leg. While he didn't find new trade routes, Cabrillo is remembered for mapping the California coast. Cartier goes up the St. Lawrence. France joined North American explorers when King Francis I sent Jacques Cartier. The year was 1534, 42 years after Columbus sailed. Cartier made 3 trips to what is now Canada. He sailed up the St. Lawrence River and claimed the land for France. This opened the way for later French explorers who went west by land. Some of Cartier's men died from surfeit, an illness caused by not eating enough fruits and vegetables. Others were killed by the Iroquois Indians. Cartier treated the Iroquois Indians badly. Cartier later returned home and wrote a book about his travels. Francisco Vasquez de Coronado, after explorers from Spain had traveled around Mexico, they moved into what is now America's southwest and west coast. Colonists followed them. Starting in 1540, Francisco Vasquez de Coronado took 300 Spanish men and 800 American Indian men with him as he explored what he now called Arizona, New Mexico, Texas, Oklahoma, and Kansas. Some of his men saw the Grand Canyon. Spain's king thought Coronado failed because he did not find gold or other treasure. People believe a story that 7 cities built of gold were in the area, and Coronado had not found them. More than 200 years later, missionaries and soldiers went to California. In 1769, Father Junipero Serra began building 9 missions near the Pacific Ocean. The first mission was built at San Diego. De Soto, Joliet, Marquette, and La Salle explored. Hernando de Soto and an army of 600 men exploring the Spain, traveled in the middle of today's United States. They marched from western Florida through Florida, Georgia, the Carolinas, Tennessee, Alabama, Mississippi, and Arkansas. Their goals were to find gold and conquer the American Indians who lived in the area. In 1541, they found the Mississippi River. Louis Joliet and Jacques Marquette of France explored the northern end of the river in 1673. From 1679 to 1682, a nobleman with the title of Sieur de La Salle explored the whole New River. Champlain explores and explores. Samuel de Champlain was a New World explorer for France. Beginning in 1603, Champlain sailed to the future Canada several times over the course of 30 years. He was looking for a way to sail through North America. Instead, he followed the Ottawa River and 2 of the 5 Great Lakes, Ontario and Huron. He also found Lake Champlain, which is located on the border between today's New York State and Vermont. Champlain started a colony that later became the city of Quebec. Henry Hudson and the Hudson River. Henry Hudson was English, but was sailing for Dutch traders in 1609. He meant to go past Norway and then east to China, but the ice stopped his ship. Hudson decided to go west across the Atlantic Ocean and look for a strait that went from North America to China. Later, Hudson sailed his ship up the Hudson River from today's New York City to Albany. Colonization by the English, Dutch, and Swedish. The Netherlands, sometimes called Holland, is home to the Dutch because of Henry Hudson's exploration. The Dutch began the colony of New Netherland in Newport, New Jersey, Connecticut, and Delaware in 1624. The Dutch bought Manhattan Island from the American Indians, paying for the land with glass beds and other things that the American Indians could not make. There the Dutch started a town that they named New Amsterdam. Later, England took it over and called it New York. Sweden sent colonies to North America. They were at first helped by the Dutch. New Sweden began in 1638 with Fort Christina, named for the Queen of Sweden. Today, it is called Wilmington, Delaware. First the Dutch, then the English took over this colony. The rewards of exploration. Early explorers sailed on very long voyages with many dangers. They might run out of food and drinking water or even get sick. Many died from illness or fighting. Explorers traveled because it was their job, working for a king or queen or a trading company. Some wanted fame or knowledge, while others wanted riches. Colonists had to clear the land and plant crops. They often went hungry at first. They knew a supply ship would not return before next year, and never knew for sure that it would come at all. The explorers and the colonists who followed them found adventure and opened up a whole new world. Glossary: cargo, the group of things being taken from one place to another on a ship. Colonies, towns or states that belong to distant countries. Conquered, to control, by force, of people and the land where they live. Explorer, a person who travels looking for new lands and discoveries. Fleet, a large group of ships. Strait, a narrow body of water connecting two larger bodies of water.